So I wrote this song a couple months ago with my friend Autumn McIntyre, and fantastic songwriter, fantastic human. I met her through a mutual friend, and she actually is the niece of Reba McEntire. Yeah, but has been in town. Like, she moved to be an artist and then transitioned into full-time songwriter, and just so good. This is actually the first song we wrote together, and I had this idea, and I said it to her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we're writing that." Should I give you the story now, or should I give it to you after?
Whatever you want.
You want the story behind it now?
Just so I can hear the lyrics and understand where it's coming
Okay, good. Okay, that's what I needed to know. So this is called Seven. I was married for 7 years, and it took me 7 minutes to sign my divorce papers. And that's where this song came from.
Well, baby, you've been on my mind. I think about you all the time. Oh, I want to see your
Test
face.
1, 2. Test cucumber.
This is what I do when I'm working. Sometimes, I'm like, when someone does
better
a
than a
really
golf
good
clap.
thing, I'm
I
just
feel
like,
like you're like a cat.
Oh, jeez. Are we rolling? We're rolling. Oh, fuck me.
oh, love
All
it.
right.
All right, well,
Flipping around the podcast.
all right.
Welcome
So
back.
this is a first, Brandon.
Yeah.
This is actually a first of first. Do you mind if I explain?
Do explain.
Okay. So our guest today is Kayley Bishop, and how did I get to have her on this podcast is so unique. As I've said many times in the podcasts that we've done before, I'm so blessed to know people, and there we have a mutual connection and a man, and I use that word, a boy, in John Goolsby. And John will also be on our podcast coming up in a few months, but just so honored. He told me about Kayley. I checked her out on Instagram, started listening to music, reached out to her, begged her to come on our podcast because she's got some epic news she's also going to share. So that's one of the first. The second first is this first time for all of us going to meet her today.
Yeah.
And the third first, this is the first time that we're almost going to go live. We're going to be filming this and dropping it on her behalf next Tuesday. So that date would be the 16th of November. So we're just honored to have you on Sleeping Around. So Kayley Bishop.
Hey, Matthew.
Yes.
You're announcing a show that's already published.
Oh, that's true, handsome Dan.
But it's okay.
Has it really already been published?
It
so
is
like
now.
I'm back in time now?
You just went back in time.
I'm
dude.
confused as how the time-space continuum is working right now.
know.
Well, maybe Mark Broussard was right.
He is.
Oh.
Inception.
Wait
This
a
is
second.
crazy. Yeah, because by the time it launches,
Plot hole.
it's already launched.
It's already
and you've
happened.
Already announced it. You are
Now
one.
that's a
you
first.
Are an idiot.
So there's 4 firsts.
You are
Yes.
dumb.
All right. So how we like to start
it.
the podcast, Kaylee, is
Okay.
thank you for sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew. Cheers.
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 Yes. And
man.
we're going to be sipping on Striker
That's
again
right.
today.
So we have done Striker before.
it was
this is
so good we decided to come back.
That's right. It is out of, remember how I say it? I say Blanco. Oh, no, it's Blanco.
Blanco, Texas.
Or as I like to say, the home of Bonnie Bishop.
Yep. Home of Bonnie.
Steal my heart. So we're going to be sipping on this today and listening to some great music and getting to meet a new friend.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you so much for coming to Austin, Texas.
It is my pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Yep. Now, where'd you come in from?
I came in from Nashville, and it's my home right now.
Yeah.
Let's get this mic right on top. What else?
Nashville.
Listen, we're going to make this so easy for you, Kayla. You're going to crack up.
Yeah.
So again, literally, we just met, 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, we met 10 minutes ago, and I definitely, as like a single female, I had one of those moments as I was driving up. I was like, am I going to get murdered right now? Like, is this real?
It was a scary neighborhood too, right? Yeah.
No.
Did you dodge the gunshots on the way in?
I had to dodge a Mercedes. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw that story. Did you? It was on national news, but right down the road here, about a week ago, there was a guy that was holed up in his house with the SWAT team, and he was shooting. They went. Did you see this on national news? Did anybody hear this?
No.
I have no idea.
No.
Yeah, it was here. It was literally Circle C right down the road. So he was holed up in his house, and he hadn't mowed his yard in over a year, and the grass was getting so tall.
Man, y'all have a hell of an HOA.
I'm telling you.
Dang.
So the police came, and the city of Austin, they were going to mow the yard for him. So they were mowing the yard, and as they were mowing, he started shooting at him from like upstairs. And then he set the house on fire, and then the SWAT team was there, news was there. It was kind of crazy.
Was he
nuts.
just like clinically insane?
Yeah,
or?
I think he had some mental health issues for sure.
My
Yeah.
goodness.
If I had to guess, it would probably be that, or y'all do have a mean HOA.
It could be the mean HOA. The HOA is intense. Like if you park wrong out here, they will get you for sure.
Well, let's take a step back. So, Kayley, thank you again for being here. Tell us a little bit about. I mean, you obviously live in Nashville because we
I
flew
do.
you in from Nashville.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit how you got involved in music. Maybe a little bit about where you grew up.
Okay, let me give you my life story.
Sweet.
So I grew up in East Tennessee, which is, I guess, the birthplace of country music. Funny enough, I've never really done any shows out there. I don't know why. It sounds like God needs to intervene with that situation and have me play in East Tennessee. And then my family moved down to Fort Myers, Florida, where I went to high school. Went to college in Boston, did musical theater. I didn't know what else to do. All I knew was I wanted to be on stage. And got a degree in musical theater, knew that I didn't want to live in New York City, worked on a cruise ship right after college, sang on that band, the cruise ship band, traveled, which is something I wanted to do because I was broke and I was out of college and I really wanted to travel. So it was a great way to
Yeah.
do that. And then afterwards, I got married, moved to Nashville to pursue the dream, got divorced, and I'm still doing the dream.
Nice.
So, in my experience, not only being divorced twice, but it's going to make for better country music, right? It's going to make for an artist. So you have been an artist.
Oh, yeah.
Let me back up a little bit. I'm one of these guys that I kind of like the backstory. Obviously, you said East Tennessee and then Florida,
Yes.
but yet you went to college in Boston.
Mhm.
How was that going into your freshman year? And you can mention the college if you want. Was it BU?
Boston Conservatory,
Okay.
actually.
All right.
It was incredible. Like I
Wow.
was so happy-go-lucky about going, and it did hit me in the fall, a couple months in. I was like, "Wait, I am not in Kansas anymore." Like,
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember calling my parents, and I didn't realize how hard it was on them because I'm almost their firstborn. Like I have an older half sister, but I'm my dad's firstborn, and so it was kind of traumatic for me to go to college, especially that far away.
Yeah.
And but oh my gosh, I would not trade it for a second. I loved that I went there.
Now, were you the type of student? Now, I have a daughter who's 16, so I'm taking some good notes here. But were you the type that you were so far away that you only came home for Thanksgiving, or
Oh, yeah.
or you had to decide which one, or were you able to?
Didn't come home for Thanksgiving, came home
Oh.
for Christmas.
Okay, so that had
Tortured
probably been the
them.
longest stretch you had been away from your family.
Yeah, but it was amazing. But it was.
Well, I think
I'm not heartless. But.
Yeah, I think kids need to go away for college.
Yeah.
Like as much as I love UT, I grew up in El Paso, so
Mhm.
for me that was a long way. But I think you grow. I think when you're
yeah.
out on your own, you get away, and I think that's where your opportunity to grow is. So,
Well, and Boston was so different than anything I'd ever known.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, I'm in an entirely different ecosystem,
Mhm.
taking the subway everywhere, and it was walking everywhere, not using a car. It was a completely different lifestyle.
Cold
change.
weather.
Cold
Yeah,
weather.
cold weather.
It
Very
took me
cold.
like 3 years to figure out how to dress, and I don't know why. I remember walking home one night, and it was so cold I could not understand how my legs were moving, and all I was wearing was a pea coat. It was pathetic.
Boston's a unique town. It's a cool town.
Very
it's
much.
a very cool place. The sports history there is phenomenal. Obviously with the Red Sox and the Bruins and all that, and
Mhm.
and of course everything that Tom Brady's done. There,
Oh yeah.
but it's not quite.
The
You
South.
don't quite see the southern, let's call it southern hospitality that you see. I mean, did you run into that or
no.
just yeah,
Unless it was somebody that was also relocating there.
yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So tell us about traveling. Where'd you go? What was obviously you were on the cruise ship, but where'd you get to go that was like, what tops your list? Top 3 places that you went to during those couple years?
Well, I did a couple other pilgrimages as well, separate from the cruise ship, and I rode a camel up Mount Sinai and got sick and puked while I was riding the camel.
On the
because
camel?
I had a lot of foresight, and I grabbed a grocery bag.
Okay. Save the camel. Save the
saved
camel.
the camel.
Yeah.
But this was in Egypt on the Sinai Peninsula, and
Wow.
basically where Moses got the 10 Commandments.
Yes.
And you ride camel back up the majority of the mountain, and then you get off, and then you continue to hike up, and you do it in the middle of the night. Like midnight was when we went to the camel camp. And I get to the top of the mountain on foot by like 5 a.m. for the sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the coolest things I've ever done.
That's
Not
awesome.
not music related whatsoever, but even though I got sick because I drank the orange tang in Egypt, that was not a good choice. Bad
Well, I've
choice.
never been a fan of orange tang
Yeah.
here
Period.
anyway.
Yeah.
Don't drink the orange tang.
Again, orange tang was a drink that they had in the. Okay, sorry, handsome man. So that sounds like a heck of a trip. I'm like, how can anybody top that one? But more specifically, again, I'm going back. So your first year, your musical theater. Tell us a little bit about your productions. Tell us a little bit about what you did. Were you able to, during the summertime, do any productions, or was it just
So I actually would go home and work. I was taking your order at Chick-fil-A all summer, and then I'd make
Nice.
all the money I needed for college because I was trying to do everything I could to relieve my parents of tuition and costs and all that. I've always been very independent
Mhm.
in that way. But in college, it's a ton of musical theater productions. I did student directed stuff. I did all sorts of different things. But my senior year, I got into songwriting. I did an emphasis in songwriting. And that's when I kind of realized I wanted to be myself on stage instead of a character.
wow?
And so everything kind of shifted there. And so instead of moving to New York City, I knew that Nashville was going to be on the horizon for me. And
Mhm.
and I'm so grateful I had the musical theater training because as a songwriter,
Mhm.
it really has informed how I write.
Mhm.
Because you're constantly doing character study with a script. You're looking at subtext. You're looking at like, okay, why does that character believe this? Or what is informing this character's action here? And I think of that a lot just in the songwriting process as well.
So your approach to songwriting is a little unique than what we've had on the podcast is so far, right? So a lot of people that we talk about, they pretty much knew from birth, right? Or they had been writing when they were little kids, or they journaled, or they had these feelings that they wanted to get out, whether it be poems, sonnets, stuff like that. Yours came that late that you realized that you wanted to be a songwriter after taking the class?
It was because of my vocal ability. I
Right.
knew I wanted to sing and be myself on stage. So that meant that I would need to start writing. It kind of was a due diligence thing. And it was painful. It was a painful process to get under my belt. But now that I've been at it for a while, like it's almost like breaking the seal. It's like,
Right.
give me a spoon. I'm chipping away at the brick wall. And at some point you push through and the ideas just flow.
Wow.
And then it's just pure catharsis.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like it was painful in the beginning because I was like, I can't think of melodies. I can't think of lyrics. Like, how do I do this? It's so hard. This is so hard. But I knew I wanted to sing. And now I just, oh my gosh, I love writing. Love writing.
I'm big on process, and Brandon is too. I think from our backgrounds, just in our lives, I got to have a process, right? Some
Yeah.
people could say I'm structured or OCD. I'm always fascinated by people who write and have that ability. There's different thoughts on that. Are you the type of person that physically, yellow notebook, this is how much time I'm setting aside, I'm going to write today? Or is it when it hits me, when I'm feeling something?
It's
when
really both.
Okay.
Because, in Nashville, we do a lot of co-writing.
Yes.
So I'm getting in a room. We have a scheduled time of like, hey, from this hour to this hour, at least we're going to be writing a song.
Right.
And so therefore, like a lot of that yellow legal pad thing is happening, but also it's kind of, I say due diligence a lot, but it's my due diligence as a songwriter to like keep my brain open all the time. Like
Mhm.
I've gotten song ideas in the middle of the night. Like I'll wake up with a song idea and I'll just have to write it down. And so, and then, with the ideas that I have, I then have to be just responsible and like make time to really develop those ideas and concepts and lyrics.
That's the thing that gets me. Like, it seems like, especially we've talked to some other guests, that Nashville is the business of songwriting is really, really kind of almost feels like a higher pressure
Right.
kind of situation. Like, I've got to have a song. I've got to have this many songs by the time we get to this date or that kind of stuff. I don't like that. Just seems hard for me, but
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people that get burned out
Mhm.
because what once started as a passion is now
A job.
vehicle
Yeah.
to earn
Yeah.
money. And then it just comes with a whole slew of responsibilities. I've been lucky because I've not been in that position yet.
Right.
And I say yet because I don't know, like maybe a publishing deal is on the horizon for me where you will have a quota of songs you have to fulfill.
Right.
and, you know, write with different people they want you to write with, which is a whole nother thing to tackle, because for me, I'm writing intimate stories. I'm writing things that I've lived.
Yeah.
And I'm not just going to, it's not so easy to get in a room with a stranger and be like, hey, let me spill my guts.
Well, yeah, you mentioned, although we're kind of doing that now. but
Y'all get special access, okay?
that's what I'm talking about. You mentioned though, like how independent you are. And so I'd imagine like being the independent person that you are, you know, maybe it is tough to write with other people. Have you found that tough to do with other people? Or is it like, have you been able to be kind of selective in who you write with so far?
You find your favorites. I have people that I'm at such ease with. They bring out my best. I can suck, I can soar, I can do all the things with them, and they love me no matter what, and they believe in me no matter what. And so those are and they're talented to boot and can think of things that I'm not thinking of myself. And so those are definitely like a star players that I want in my writing camp. And then there are people that you just know you're not going to really get anything good with. There's the vibe's wrong. Like it's like dating.
Wow. Okay.
It's kind of like dating.
Yeah. Dan has done a lot of dating apps.
I really haven't.
He's the handsome one, remember?
I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I've never done a dating app.
I haven't either.
I've never done a dating
Have
app.
you never done dating
I've
apps?
So
never done. I
besides
never
having,
needed to.
besides that being common, we're also all divorced, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things I noticed is I love how you describe yourself on Instagram. And I just thought that was the greatest description. And you said it came to you in a God moment. Can you share that story again now that we're filming on how you came up with Bob Seger, Aretha Franklin, Dolly Parton? I love this. I love this.
So to kind of like talk about the God moment, I'm doing everything very prayerfully minded.
Mhm.
And you can kind of consider it as like consecration. So to consecrate something means you're setting it aside as holy or for a holy purpose. And so for me, it's like, I know that these gifts are supernatural. These are, you know, not developed in me. They are bestowed upon me. And so it's my joy and my conviction to steward them and to serve them. And so therefore, like, why would I not pray about everything I'm pursuing within this realm of what I'm doing in my career? And so when I'm sitting there thinking about my brand, thinking about who I am, it's like, it was just such like a God like dropped it in my head. And I said, that's it. And so we've got Dolly Parton, who in the past people have told me that I have a warble similar to hers, just in the way I sing, which I'm all about.
What a compliment. Yep.
Yeah, it's so sweet. But I just love her storytelling and her authenticity. Yep. And so that's something that I'm definitely leaning into, especially as a country
And her writing
artist.
ability. She's still one of the top. She's amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then Aretha's influence probably started a couple years ago. And it really is all about serving the melody and serving the lyric in such a way that it just sounds like it's straight from heaven's gates.
Wow.
I mean, it's so in like Holy Spirit informed. Like if you listen to Aretha sing, like not a single note is misplaced. And that's because she's like right in the center of each one. And so that's a goal of mine. Then, you know, naturally my voice is like really pushing more soul. And I love that. And then with Bob Seger, it really kind of started last year when I was painting my divorce house. I was painting the porch.
The divorce house, is that what we're
I call
calling
it the divorce house. Yeah. I was painting the house.
Instead of Coat of Many Colors by Dolly Parton, we'll have the house, the divorce house of many colors.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I was painting the porch, and we were just listening to Bob Seger for fun, and Like a Rock came on, and I just stopped. I swooned so hard and was like, man, I remember when I used to hear this on that Chevy truck commercial when I was a kid.
Oh, you're so young.
Like, but let me tell you what, like that thing, that commercial landed in my soul. Like there are not many commercials I remember as a kid, but that one I do.
Yeah.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, this would be a good time. So you have something coming out tomorrow. I know the time continuum, which is 11/12/21. And I would love to hear you do your rendition of Like a Rock.
Right now?
Right now.
Oh, they low.
Of course. We like to put our musicians right in the middle of it.
Okay.
All right, let's do it, Dan.
Do it.
I'm nervous now.
Oh, geez.
Okay, what do I do with this microphone?
He's got you.
Dan's
he takes
gonna
care
hook
of
you up.
everything.
Yeah, just sing.
So to kind of just like dig into this song a little bit, lyrically, I just remember listening to the words as I was painting my porch and revisiting the melody in my head and thinking like, I'm doing something with this song. It just feels like it's mine somehow. And I think, there's something very symbolic about listening to Like a Rock while painting a divorce house and going through all of the memories of, holy crap, what did I just go through? And I am so freaking resilient. And anyway, it just really felt like mine. So stood there boldly, sweating in the sun, felt like a million, felt like number one. The height of summer, I never felt that strong, like a rock. I was 18 and didn't have a care, working for peanuts, not a dime to spare. And I was lean and solid everywhere, like a rock. My hands were steady, my eyes were clear and bright. My walk had purpose, my steps were quick and light. And I held firm to what I felt was right, like a rock. Like a rock. Oh, I was strong as I could be, like a rock. Nothing ever got to me, like a rock. Oh, I was something to see, like a rock. And I stood arrow straight, unencumbered by the weight of all those hustlers and their schemes. I stood tall and I stood proud, yeah, high above it all, yes. I still believe in my dreams, yeah. Ooh. 20 years, where'd they go? 20 years, I don't know. I sit and I wonder sometimes, where they gone? Oh, and sometimes late at night, oh, when I'm bathed in the firelight, the moon comes calling a ghostly white, and I recall like a rock, standing arrow straight like a rock, charging from the gate like a rock. Yes, I'm a carrying the weight like a rock. Oh, like a rock, like a rock. Ooh, the sun upon my skin like a rock. Yes, I'm hard against the wind like a rock. I see myself again like a rock. Mm.
That's fucking fantastic.
Was that awkward, like being
No.
so close?
No,
That's fantastic.
it was amazing.
I didn't have my band with me.
That's okay.
I wasn't fully warmed up for that, John.
You don't-
You didn't have a band during that?
Yeah. Ooh,
Blew me.
wow. That's fantastic. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. You asked for it.
So, is my mic on? Are we on?
It is back.
What are- what-
However, just let me set this back up here.
What,
Hold on, I just want to just take that in for a second. Thank you.
yeah.
My pleasure.
It
What,
is such a blessing.
What color did you paint the house?
Great question, Brandon.
The color I was painting at the time was white, which symbolizes purity. So
It
Yeah.
does.
I'll just claim that right now.
Man.
Yeah, it would have been great if you'd have
New
said
beginnings.
it was a red door and you wanted to paint it black. Come on now. Charlie, here's to you.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Again, thank you. I'm a big believer in the gifts that we have, and you said something earlier. So for you to be able to share that with us, this tiny little podcast in Austin, Texas, we are so blessed for it. And I know for a fact that it's going to bless other people. Whenever a song finds you or you find a song, tell me the difference.
Oh, shoot. Whenever a song finds me or I find the song. Are we talking about other people's songs or my own?
You tell me.
Oh, man. There are some songs that I've written where it's like, I'll write the chorus or I'll be in the middle of writing the chorus and I'll just start crying. I'll just be like, man, that hits. And no one would probably ever listen back to it and think like, wow, that hit her. But it's all about where I'm at. So when I'm writing a song, if I'm not serving my emotional capacity in that moment, like whether it's heartbreak or pain or grief or sorrow or joy or whatever, it's like why not dig into that? You know, I'm kind of in a season of writing sad songs, and I was juggling this idea of like, should I be self-conscious about that? Like, are people going to get tired of these ballads, like these sad songs? And I'm like, screw that. Like,
There you go.
this is where I'm at. I'm going to write it until it's done.
Right.
And then at some point, I won't be in like a heartbreak mourning phase. I'll be in a really, excited, joyful, happy season, and I'll write all of those songs too. And it's not like I'm just doing them exclusively. There's definitely overlap, and there's fun ones that are getting written as well. But for a cover song to land on me, like there have been a few lately. So Like a Rock, there's this song called I'd Rather Go Blind by Etta James. And man, if it's the right morning or the right day, right hour, like I will weep.
Right. Right.
So-
Well, I think too, it's interesting because when a song finds you, you find a song. I ask artists that all the time because it depends how it lands on them. But let's talk about a song that you've written. Has there any been a time in your life where, let's say, you're leaving college, you realize you want to be a songwriter, you might have jotted some stuff down and said, I'm going to keep this for later, or any time where you've gone back to something you've written where then it made more sense to them?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about that.
So, before we got started, you were talking about that wedding dress song of mine, and that's prime time example of like, I had this idea called Wasted Wedding Gown. It just came out of nowhere. This is probably like a year or two before my divorce. And I had this idea for a wasted wedding gown, which makes no sense, and it wasn't, the melody is kind of similar to what it ended up being, but lyrically I threw it on its head and I said, no, that's not right, because that wasn't lived. And then it was lived. And then it was lived, and I had the right things to say about it.
Wow. It's interesting how that's what I kind of mean by the song will find you. And, when you are the vessel that you talked about and just expressing yourself and not making it that 9-to-5 job. And one of the artists that we talked to, I said, it's got to be like having your own children. Like as soon as you release a song out, almost give birth to this song, now it's mine. Like this is mine. And I want to be careful with who I give it to. I want to be careful where it goes. I want to be careful how. Do you feel that ownership of those songs like that, like paternal, or is it more just I'm gifting it? Okay.
Totally. I mean, I wrote one recently where my co-writer was just like, this song is really good. Like, I want to pitch it. And I'm like, wait, what? No, I'm cutting that sucker.
Really?
Like, I'm recording that. And, but also just the way Nashville is, if you're signing a publishing deal and you're working for a publisher who's pitching your stuff, it's like, you can't. It's no half of it. Part of it's not yours anymore. You know, you're signing over your.
Yeah.
You know,
watched
your
the
intellectual
episode
property.
with Mark and our episode with Bree the same way.
Yeah.
Many artists that are my friends that I've been so blessed to know, they learn from each other, right, in their experience. One of the artists that we're going to be having on here pretty soon, Nikki James, good friend of mine, singer-songwriter in Nashville, and he just signed, you know, and he said, I want to do this. This has been my passion. I've been in Nashville this long, writing this long. Here's the time to release to the world my story, my words. How do you know when it's right? So you've been in Nashville for how long?
Oh gosh, coming up on 8 years. But not all of those years look the same. You know, you first moved to town and I wasn't developed. You know, there's a season of understanding who I am. Like I was coming out of a musical theater program where I still had like some musical theater affectation to my voice.
I want to think.
Yeah, like, and I was the commercial one in my class. So there was a learning of, okay, who am I on the mic? And then living the life to be able to inform the songwriting. And so for me, like I needed all of those 8 years to be exactly where I'm at.
Or I could give you, so I went through this crazy path through 2011 through 2018. Can I just give you those stories about my blackouts and acting crazy and stuff? Can I give those to you? You can, free. Yeah, I'm free. They're pretty good stories.
So you can write about your stories?
Yeah, they're pretty bad. It
There's a
has
couple
mostly to
stories
do with
there.
a hairy back and waking up somewhere, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we get some good songs coming out.
Part of our passions with Brandon and I, since you're meeting us too, is, you know, how we met. And we're both extremely passionate about music and having fun, but it's about sleep, right?
Oh, yeah.
You were probably wondering, having a back and forth with the management company from a pretty large artist. And number one, they're worried about the title, Sleeping Around the Podcast. And they're like, well, how do you incorporate sleep? And my answer back to this gentleman is I said, well, do you sleep? Well, yeah, everybody sleeps. We like to share the importance of sleep. So if I can ask you some tough questions, meaning I'll probably ask you a little bit about when you were painting, but talk to us about sleep. How do you sleep? And then Brandon usually takes over at this point because he's the doctor. I'm the doctor.
I mean, I sleep decently well now that I have like a Tempur-Pedic mattress, 3-inch.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, it's one of those things from Costco. It's like those 3-inch memory foam toppers. That thing is legit.
I like it.
So
you like the Tempur-Pedic?
it's honestly, let's first talk
Memory
about
foam?
Yes.
pragmatism. We need a good mattress. We need a good mattress topper, and we need stellar sheets.
Very important.
So you're talking about count.
Yeah, like get me some good cotton sheet, like good
So
nice sheets.
I know you use the baked satin ones. Handsome Dan, those don't work well.
Egyptian cotton.
We got the
That's
Yeah,
Egyptian.
the way to
like
go.
Egyptian
Egyptian
cotton is
cotton.
definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
No, she's still going. I want to
ahead.
hear this.
So
I want to hear what you. This is good.
That's the pragmatic side.
All right.
And my dog is like the best cuddle bug, and so I've got, as a single woman, I have, his name is Johnny. I get to cuddle John when I go to bed, and so I'm not in my bed alone. But other than that, like I feel like I sleep decently okay. I don't know.
well, I guess more
Decently
importantly, more importantly, how important is sleep to you?
Oh, it's so important to me, but
Yeah.
am I a butthole at night sometimes and don't go to bed? Yeah.
What's your typical routine?
I mean, it's sometimes I'm a granny, and sometimes I'm out playing until 1 a.m.
Right.
But I typically like get home, take off my makeup, do my facial regime routine.
Brandon does the same.
Yeah. I gotta
Yeah.
moisturize. Yep.
And then I've got books by my nightstand that I'll read one page in and then fall asleep.
So you fall asleep fast.
If I'm reading a book, yeah. Like if I'm scrolling, no. Like I'll stay on, and then I have to like force myself to put down the phone, and that's my current exercise: not scrolling before I sleep.
Before bed.
Is John a cuddler?
Yes, intermittently. Like
And
he'll
what
cuddle
type
me.
what type of dog is John?
He's a golden doodle.
Oh, golden doodle.
He's so handsome.
My fur niece is a golden doodle, Penny, and my brother's dog, Penny, and that girl is so much fun. She's like my favorite. He recently had a baby, He didn't have a baby. His wife had the baby.
I was about to say, it's a miracle.
Yeah. And he's pretty cool too. His name's Wyatt. He's about to turn 1 in a couple weeks. But I think I like Penny better.
That's on camera.
Yeah. Sorry. We might, for now.
Again, so the
For now,
doctor's
Penny.
going to
But-
talk to you a little bit about, so I love how you said like you just basically laid it down. You said you're a granny sometimes. I don't look at it as granny. I go to bed early. I get up ridiculously early. You're a musician.
Yeah.
Many musicians I know, they try to keep that same schedule. The guy who'll be stumbling in here pretty soon was so mad at me for the 6 a.m. flight that he didn't sleep because he got in it. So he comes stumbling in here. So do you sleep in? Are you one of these that not sleep in?
My body doesn't really let me. I mean,
Okay.
8 a.m. is pretty much, and then I'll try and sleep longer, especially if I have a late night, but it won't.
So even when you
I'll
have a
just
late
lay
night,
there.
you're up at 8 a.m. probably.
Yeah, my body. And plus with my dog.
Yeah.
He's just like,
John.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presents me with a toy. He's like, can we go downstairs and go to the bathroom now? I'm like,
I like
Yeah.
it. Presents me with a toy. So have you always been have you ever had any issues sleeping from your move to Boston, from the theater nights, from moving to Nashville, the divorce? Are you one of these people that just has a button on your back that says, I'll eventually go to sleep?
there definitely was a season where I had really bad anxiety, which can, produce insomnia and terrible. I mean, that was towards the tail end of my marriage, before I separated. But wait, that would be to be expected. You know what I mean, when you're living in an unhealthy circumstance.
Yep.
And sometimes, like when I'm traveling, sometimes I think it just depends on because I do a lot of sleeping outside of my home. Like when I'm in my home, like I can sleep.
Me too.
Well, that's got to
I
be
meant
the-
not your house.
Yeah.
Meaning I travel Monday through Friday. I really do. I'm not being. I travel Monday through Friday. When I'm home on the week, I sleep like a baby. I mean,
yeah.
I love it.
I
sleep.
love being able to sleep in my bed.
But now I think I've conditioned myself that even when I travel now, I'm still getting important sleep. But you are going to, and this is just me projecting, but I think you're going to be big, and I think your life's going to take with this album coming out tomorrow. I don't know. Sometimes when I see talent, I'm just like, wow. Because of what you've gone through, if sleep isn't an issue, when we have guests on, you don't have to present something. And I try to let people know that. I want to talk about your music and the importance that we put on sleep, but you don't have to necessarily have an issue with sleep.
Yeah.
But talk about that anxiety with sleep. You noticed the difference, right? And you even said a couple
Oh my
things.
gosh, yeah. And also, if I'm staying with host families, then you're on their stomping ground. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
can sleep real good in a hotel too.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anxiety, yeah, is a terrible recipe for.
Well, you mentioned earlier, like sometimes waking up with an idea, or a song, like lyrics, they hit you, you're in a dream, whatever it is, and you wake up and you jot it down, or like how often does that happen? And when it happens, how do you process it? Like, how do you go back to do you wake up, you have the idea, and you're like, oh man, I got to work this out. And so you just wake up and work it out at 2 in the morning.
Record a note in your phone. Do you write it down?
Lately, my dreams have been a little bit more on the prophetic side, spiritual side, and not so much lyrically driven. But at the same time, those are, to me, almost even more important to write down and to pray into, because God has, especially in the last month, God has revealed a lot to me in my dreams. And he's basically counseling me right now, which is really cool. I know it's a whole nother thing to wrap your head around.
Not really. I think faith's important, and your experience that you're having is your experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's probably TMI, especially for anybody watching that doesn't know who I am, but basically God revealed to me that I had a lot of anger that I had suppressed, that I was justifiably angry about a lot of things.
Sure.
But I'm not an angry person. But he basically was telling me, he's like, hey, I need you to deal with this anger and deal with it with me, because I don't want you bringing this into your next season, your next relationship, your next anything. And he was giving me and confirming things and stuff like that. It was very generous of him to do that. So that kind of stuff, I'm writing it down. I haven't had I did have a dream about Eating Dinner with Dolly Parton.
Ooh.
And that is starting to be a song already. Like,
Oh, wow. Really?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's such a cool way to get ideas. Like, why would I not pay attention to my dreams? Like, and the whole thing was I showed up at Dolly Parton's house, and she was wigless. She didn't have makeup on. She looked just very, like, as you are. And there was a whole bunch of people that showed up, and it was late at night. It was like 11 p.m. at night. And we walk into her kitchen, and for whatever reason, I take the hostess card, and I'm laying out food for all of these guests to enjoy at Dolly Parton's home. And she's, like, in her PJs. It makes no sense. But then the scene shifts, and me and her are just sitting alone at her kitchen table. And she looks at me, and she says, she holds my hand. She's like, I love you, Kayley.
That's good.
I'm like, I love you too, Dolly.
Oh.
And I cannot make it up. I can't make it up.
No,
Like, it doesn't
that's
make any sense. But in that moment, I just felt like, okay, she believed in me. And what would Dolly Parton say about what I'm doing in my career right now? Like, she would probably talk about what's most important. Like, hey, how are you treating people? Hey, how are you
Treating yourself.
treating yourself? Yeah. And so this idea for the song is like Dinner with Dolly, and like her
I love it.
counseling
I
me.
like that.
I love it.
I see a T-shirt already.
Yeah, I freaking love it.
Kayley, when I'm with musicians, I always like to ask this question, so I'm going to throw it at you. So take me back, and if you can't go there, you're okay. When you're 13, 14, 15, you're in middle school. Do you remember where you were at? You said you were in Florida. What were you listening to back then?
Oh, Della.
What posters were on your wall? What were you listening to?
What was I still listening to? Honestly, I think I was digging into some Martina McBride and Faith Hill.
The Voice. That's her nickname, by the way. The Voice.
Yeah. It was country music.
So
For sure.
Martina McBride, not bad, by the way. So Let Freedom Ring, that era of Martina, or was it?
Yeah. I'm trying
Concrete
to. Oh, no,
Angel?
Alison Krauss and Union Station. That live record, I think
Yes. Love her.
2003 or 2002. Someone gave that to me, and I spun that record so hard. That and Michael Bublé.
Okay.
It was an eclectic array of music.
I love when Alison Krauss redid Keith Whitley.
Oh, yeah. When You Say Nothing at All.
That's right. And her voice, and of course now when she's with Robert, and this is their third album coming out, I love that mix of their voices. So that was was that your influence, or that just what you were listening to?
I was listening to that. Reliant K as well, which is like a Christian rock band. Influence at the time, like, sure, vocally, just trying to emulate and trying to understand how those sounds are made.
Right.
But as far as writing, I wasn't even thinking about writing songs at that point.
So let's go back to let's talk about your career a little bit. You've been in Nashville for 8 years.
I see the pause and smiles. Am I missing something, Dan?
So
No.
8 years in Nashville. You left.
She's got a doctorate in
finished,
Nashville.
You finished college. You worked. You traveled. You said, "I'm going to Nashville." What's it been like since then? What have you done since then? You mentioned just you're releasing a new album.
It's out now.
It's out.
It's out right now.
The Time Space Continuum.
It's out right now.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
out.
it's out right now.
Last
technically.
week, you released a new album.
It's still throwing me off that y'all are doing this. It's just, that's so
Yeah.
cool. But I get it.
But what else have you done over the last 8 years? I mean, you've been writing, you've been producing.
So when I
you've been-
first moved to town, like, again, I didn't know who I was. And my first goal was, can I make money through music? And I did. I got involved with this corporate event band, stopped doing that, and then started cutting my teeth down on Broadway in 2017,
Great
playing
area.
all the different places, like getting my chops up vocally with my guitar, singing or writing songs with anybody. So that was like super big training ground, and that actually prepared me for 2018 when I did The Voice. And so I went and did that, met a lot of cool people. That took a big chunk of my year, actually. But continued to play, continued to write. And then 2019, I was doing a lot of touring. Like, I was going all over the country, playing shows. And then obviously 2020, we all know what happened then.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And now
Sports. Oh,
Right.
what are you talking about? Oh, COVID, yes.
And now we're on to 2021. But as far as like the music that I've got coming up, like, I just had this big compulsion to do a cover project, and I really wanted to cut Like a Rock, and I wanted to do Steve Miller's Fly Like an Eagle. Those were the two songs I was like, I'm doing these two songs.
Doop, 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 doop.
Yep. Cannot wait till that drops. It's going to be probably like February. But so I'm doing it in two phases. So we got two singles, Valerie and Like a Rock.
Another
and
great song.
I know. And then 3 more are coming.
There's so much I want to ask you to sing, but I forgot you did Valerie. Let's talk about your. I'm sorry, I'm blushing.
And these are just the covers. Like
I know, I love, but I
have
love that
a whole
song.
original EP that's gonna drop in the spring.
So
And
that'll
we're
be
gonna
this
support
upcoming
you.
spring.
I'm hoping, yeah.
My goal is to have you back in 6 months, and then we'll do that as well. But can you talk about your experience with The Voice? Are you under some kind of contract negotiation that you can't?
I mean, I everybody signs an NDA, but
Okay.
My experience.
Hold on a second. Dan, an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, so she can't. There's a period of time, and then she's kind of locked in.
I'm in a couple of those myself.
Okay, all right.
Right.
No, there's a difference. That's where you got to be. What is it? 100 yards from the school?
That's it. Yeah.
That's not an ND. That's not an NDA. Dan, that's not an NDA.
Golly,
I'm serious.
you poor thing.
Okay, go ahead. The Voice.
I will say there is so much that is out of your control when you're on that episode. I mean, you don't know what's happening when, and you're kept in the dark by the production team for good reason. I mean, like it's a TV show, and while you're there, you're an asset to NBC. And as soon as you're off, you're not. And so NBC is looking out for NBC, and I don't mean this in like a disparaging way, but it's like they're concerned about their brand. The Voice bolsters their brand. If I'm on The Voice, I'm bolstering their brand. If I'm not, then there's no use for me.
Right.
They're not cultivating or fostering my career.
Right.
The show.
And that's not what they're designed
not
to
what
do.
they're designed to
right,
do.
Right.
But you have to know that going into it, because there's a lot of talented artists that go in thinking my dreams are coming true, thinking that that's going to happen, and then they're obviously very disappointed. For me, I knew the things that were going to be within my control were my attitude, whether I could celebrate other artists, and being prepared and working hard. And I did all of those things, and I feel like I really squeezed that lemon dry.
And you'd say it's worth it. The exposure was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of like locked up in a hotel with a bunch of other artists, and honestly, that was kind of fun. It was like summer camp.
Yeah.
And that was, and I made so many great friends.
I was going to say, do you still have relationships from them?
Yeah, I'm playing a show with one this weekend.
Nice.
Awesome. So
So-
that's cool. I've always wondered, I was fortunate enough. I spent a lot of time in Hawkins, Texas. If you're like, where the heck's Hawkins, Texas? It's East Texas, and it's right outside of a town called Lindale.
Okay.
And there was this country music artist that was a really young kid that would come around and sing for us at this camp. And her name was Miranda. And I was like, man, this girl's pretty amazing. And when Miranda Lambert hit, people forget that she was pushed on this show called Nashville Star.
I know that. I know she was.
I'm explaining to our audience. And so she was on, no, I'm kidding. I'm a little funny.
But a lot
with
of people
this.
don't. A lot of
That's
people
right.
don't know that.
So, and people just think she's always been, but she didn't win Nashville Star.
No, she didn't.
And no one can tell me who won. Maybe you could. But she was able to, at a 3rd place, 4th place finish, they still are arguing about that. She was able to take that and pivot.
Yep.
I guess that's a popular word now.
Yep.
And charge her own ground. And
Yep.
literally because of that, she moved to Nashville out of Lindale and just took off.
Yep.
I find that, and we had Bree on.
Okay.
Bree talks hilariously about, and because I know Bree, but she tells me all the insights of the story where she was in, and everything was set up. Like everything was set up. Like, hey, we need you to go sit in this hot tub. Here's a bikini.
Yeah.
She's like, not doing that. So I do know that there are kind of targeted in who they pick and how those things go.
It's TV.
But I
TV's
never
for
knew
TV.
about The
casting,
Voice.
It's
Yeah.
casting. But it's all talented people.
Yeah, the only Voice story I have is I had a very good friend of mine make it to the final cut, and he went back home and decided not to miss his flight back, and so he got cut from The Voice. And it's probably the funniest story because they did a whole big headline thing like, hey, so-and-so, I don't want to say his name on air. I'll tell you afterwards. Going to be on The Voice. They're interviewing his parents, and they're so excited, and he never
And
made
then
it.
he never, yeah.
Maybe Jack will tell the better story of it after when he comes up. But anyways, I just think it's interesting because we as viewers get to watch these shows. I'm so old that I remember when we didn't have these shows. So I still think musicians have to get up, Go play the honky tonks. Go play the four-seaters. Go play, and just kind of grind. That's kind of what it sounds like you've been doing for 8 years, girl?
No, not that long.
Okay.
Because I didn't really start cutting my teeth until 2017. I was doing some corporate event stuff and like still finding my legs in Nashville. And then 2018, 2019. But it's one of those things, it's a facility and it's a muscle. It's like you can't stop working it. Otherwise, you're going to lose it.
Did you hear that, Brandon? Yeah. So even working out.
Don't stop. Don't stop.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I still play bad shows. I still play great shows. It kind of just depends. And for me, playing the frustrating shows is actually, it's again about your perspective. Like walking into a place that nobody knows who I am.
Love it.
It's my opportunity then, like, can I turn it over?
Yeah.
Can I turn them over and make them mine? And if I can, how do I do that? And how do I keep them there?
Right.
And I've done that time and time again, and it's always super rewarding. And it's like some of my best fans come out of that moment of conversion of, we didn't know you when we walked into this place, but now we want to see everything for you.
I was telling that story about Mark. I saw Mark the first time I was watching JJ Gray, huge JJ Gray fan. Mark did a show with him and never had heard of him before. And as soon as I heard him, I was like, oh, I like this guy. Yeah. And it's that conversion kind of happened to where it's that introduction to a new band, a new musician. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So
I think this is an opportunity too, even though our podcast isn't it yet, right? We have a different audience. We have somebody watching our show right now who didn't know of you until I reached out to her and said, hey, this person's awesome. When you came in today, I put in my request for songs, and then because Brandon and I, we love the slow stuff. You said you're in a season of the slow stuff. I would love for you to play whatever you want to play. Would you honor us with another song?
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Tell what are you going to play though? And it's something that you've written.
Yeah. I'll give you an original.
Oh, she'll
song.
talk it up. This is what they do. See, these musicians, they like to get their guitar, they strum a couple,
and then they tell the
hey,
story.
I could do that. I just can't
that.
play or sing, but I could go, hey, man, I was painting the front porch of wait,
divorce
house.
Oh,
sorry. Okay.
The one that's sticking out in my head is this song that I wrote called 7. It's a newer song of mine. And if you look at the Mavis Staples and the Staples singers, like their goal was to always make someone cry.
That's right.
Like that was their goal.
How do you know? You're so young to know this stuff. Like you do your study.
I have smart friends, and I listen.
God, I can't wait to have smart friends.
I'm dying.
Oh wait, sorry.
I've had many a conversation on a long car ride.
No, I love people. Go ahead. Awesome. Well, you do hang out with John Goolsby, so I don't know who you're talking about.
John is like the king of knowing like useless information. In the greatest way. Like he knows all the things.
Yes, he does.
It's funny. I'm like, how do you know that? But anyway, this song, when I played it out recently, got a couple people crying in the audience. And so I'm not saying that I want y'all to cry or expecting y'all to cry.
No, I will cry.
Y'all feel what you want to feel.
If you watch this podcast before, there's a couple episodes where Brandon and I cry. That's just what we do.
But I can give you this song called 7.
Please.
And, what do you want? Do you want me to?
Oh, he's got you. This is what handsome Dan does.
He's so good.
He is. And he's handsome.
Handsome.
Handsome Dan.
Handsome Dan had a good story the other day.
What's that?
He said his dad watched the first episode, and he said, hey, I like your podcast. There's some really good content there. There's really good stuff. And Dad's like, oh, yeah, good. And then his dad said, does that make me handsome dad?
It does make him handsome, Dan's dad, but he's probably, I'm sure he's handsome too. It just runs in the family.
So I wrote this song a couple months ago with my friend Autumn McIntyre, and fantastic songwriter, fantastic human. I met her through a mutual friend, and she actually is the niece of Reba McEntire. Yeah, but has been in town. Like she moved to be an artist and then transitioned into a full-time songwriter, and just so good. This is actually the first song we wrote together. And I had this idea, and I said it to her, and she was like, oh, yeah, we're writing that. Should I give you the story now, or should I give it to you after?
Whatever you want.
You want the story behind it now?
Just so I can hear the lyrics and understand where it's coming
Okay, good. Okay, that's what I needed to know. So this is called Seven. I was married for 7 years, and it took me 7 minutes to sign my divorce papers. And that's where this song came from. One look, I was hooked on you. After 2 dates, I swore I knew. 3 months in, we were right on track. You hid all the red flags behind your back. 4 years together, I had a ring. October 5th, I changed my name. By year 6, we were going through hell. I begged you for help. And did you know there's 7 days in a week? 7 hours is a good night of sleep. 7's supposed to be lucky. Lucky me. It only took 7 minutes. And 7 years were finished. I walked in at 12:01. By 12:08, it was all done. I watched your hand that used to hold mine sign your name on the dotted line. We stood up without a word. There were things to say, but there wasn't the nerve. You left the room and you never looked back. And that was that. And did you know there's 7 days in a week? 7 hours is a good night of sleep. 7's supposed to be lucky. Lucky me. I never thought our 7 trips round the sun would take us from saying I do, you're the one, to I can't and we're done. It only took 7 minutes. And 7 years were finished. There's 7 days in a week. 7 hours is a good night of sleep. 7's supposed to be lucky. Lucky me. It only took 7 minutes. It only took 7 minutes. 7 years were finished.
Let's I want to keep this hooked up, Dan, like this, because we are coming up on time, and gosh dang. You know, and not to be funny, my chicken exit, that's counseling terms, is when things get serious, I get kind of silly.
I'll do it.
I'm really glad I'm divorced twice. But I appreciate love, and I appreciate heartbreak. And how in the hell does somebody write that? Like, are you with me? Like, you and Aubrey, how do y'all, it's so beautiful. Like, I hear that song and I'm like, it's beautiful, but I'm like, that should be, everybody needs to hear this song.
Well,
Fix it.
I loved the count up. I loved how you wrote like the whole build up. It's just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's relatable,
Yeah.
people who have been through that, and a lot of people go through that. A lot of people go through these relationships that don't work out. I was having a conversation. It's funny, I'm having a relationship conversation with my 10-year-old the other day.
That's healthy.
And because he likes a girl and she doesn't like him back, and he kind of said, well, you and mom and this kind of thing.
Oh,
and
crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said,
Okay.
I said, son, you think about it, most of your relationships in life don't work out. You date, you meet people, you have friendships, they change. Like, this is a growing, evolving process. And until you find the one that does, your last relationship is your last relationship. Every relationship before your last relationship doesn't work. So it's okay that some relationships don't work out. And, it's a hard conversation to have when you start talking about, with your kids, the divorce and why it's different. And, that was always kind of the struggle for me, was this, you're in this relationship that's not healthy. It's not right for you. But then you worry about how that affects kids and that kind of thing. But so people relate. And I think the powerful music is music that people relate to and that people feel. It's such a powerful, emotion thing. And so I think that's where that song is going to hit, is for all those people that have experienced that, because it's a lot of them.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, we're imperfect people. It's like, and I, as a believer, had to go through that whole process of okay, how to reconcile this with my faith, because God hates divorce, right? And so really digging into scripture and understanding what it means. And
there you go.
One of the conclusions that I came to, and this is spoken to me also by a really loved mentor of mine. Yeah.
Just twist this piece towards you.
Oh yeah, you're so smart.
And handsome.
And handsome. But they said it pretty plainly to me, and it made a lot of sense. It's like, God created the institution of marriage for our benefit because he loves us. But if he were to love the institution more than the people he created it for, he would be a very legalistic father.
There you go.
And I was like, man, that is so good. He loves his children more than the institution. And so there's grace there. And we're not perfect people. Like, we're going to be flawed, and we're going to bring trauma into the relationship. We're not going to know how to deal with trauma. And then we are mean to each other and, hurtful and destruct each other and all that. But
Well, I'm a big believer in, earlier today, we shot a couple, and I like thanking people. I'm in this season of mine where I've been really grateful. But any musician that I come in contact with, I always just say thank you. Like, you pour so much into this song, right? And it's personal. But that song's going to mean something to somebody down the road that's going to go, wow, that is going to help me.
that's the hope, right?
Right.
It's not, because to me, the most magical thing about writing songs, especially about my own stories, is maybe the details look a little different to you, but they hit the same way, because that detail in my life reminds you of a detail in your life.
Right.
And I will never forget, walking out of that office and sitting in my car and looking at the time and knowing full well I needed to journal right then and there, and that there was a song, and then this idea 7 sat with me for months. And it was an interesting feeling to gestate that and know that it was going to be a song that was going to say something before it was even ever a song. It was an interesting feeling.
Yeah, just that you can put that out, though, right? It's so brave of you. And I mean that. Like, number one, you're being very vulnerable, and you're being very open, transparent about this relationship that was, in your life. But again, I agree. I think if somebody can hear it and go, wow, okay, I'm not alone. Someone else went through this.
Totally.
I've been divorced, right? And I've never thought about the time it took. And when you said that, and then I thought about Brandon, because the red flags, but that's a whole nother story.
A lot of red flags.
I would like to
red
do
flags.
something really different to end the episode. Usually we cheers and we're drinking, and you'd be the first person, really. Would you play us one more song?
Yeah.
I would love for you to play. You can pick whatever it is again. It
Okay,
can be sad, happy. It can be whatever you want.
Let's do Blue-Eyed Baby.
Okay, come on. Dan, we're going to do one more song.
Yeah, let's do Blue-Eyed Baby.
And then we'll cheers, and
We'll get out of here.
we'll
And
got one
actually,
more.
This one is one that I've recorded and is set to release in the spring. So
Okay.
it's probably more prudent of me to do this one anyway.
We're going to have you back. We will, Dan, help.
You're killing it, Dan.
So when we hired Dan, he missed the agreement. And haven't we had legal look at this? Short shorts is what he usually wore, and a tank top or sleeveless. Like, what happened? He's
crop top.
sleeveless.
Crop top.
Short shorts or
No.
since you said it.
You had some short red shorts on.
Sure
I
did.
know. That's why we hired him.
I know.
This is not fair.
I'm really disappointed. I thought I was going to get a show.
There you go. Wait. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, this is called Blue Eye Baby. I wrote this on a Sunday afternoon about a pair of blue eyes. Blue Eye Baby, tell me something sweet. I think maybe you've swept me off my feet. Your smile, your charm, and sensibilities, they got me. Yes, they got me. Blue Eye Baby, I'm waiting for your call. See, I'm ready, and I just wanna fall into your arms where my trouble melts away. Just ask me and I'll stay. I'm lost. I'm lost in your blue eyes. I'm lost. I'm lost in your blue eyes. Blue Eye Baby, what's it gonna be? Let's go steady, 'cause I'll go willingly. I see only you and the shining stars above. I think, baby blue eyes, this could be love. This could be love.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yay.
I'm gonna do her clap.
Oh yeah, that's
super exciting.
Kayley Bishop, everybody.
Yay.
Thank you for sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew.
Thanks
for
You
being here.
are amazing.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Want my water?
Oh man, that is really good. That is really good.
Kayley, gee, Christmas.
So, album released in springtime. That's the plan.
So the two
Yeah.
But the cover,
They're two 5-song projects. So the
Okay.
cover project is 5 songs.
and that's
Michael Rock,
Two
Valerie.
more are two are coming tomorrow, and then the other 3 are coming probably February.
okay.
I like how you're pushing.
And then the next 5 will be your songs,
Yes.
and that'll be later in the spring.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna do single by single by single.
Okay.
It's hard. I mean, the business is hard.
I was going to ask, who's managing?
Who's
no
yeah
one. Me.
yeah.
I'm doing it all myself. And it's hard. It's
Why?
I need people.
Yeah.
I
Let
need
me
management.
help. Let me help you. Please let me help you. Not me, but let me get you in touch with you.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
That's why he doesn't drink. Oh my gosh.
Valerie, yeah. Did you happen Did you get a good lawyer? Hope you didn't get your tan. Hope you found the right man to fix it for you. Come on now, you're shopping anywhere. Change the color of your hair. Oh, you're busy. Don't tell me you're busy, baby. Did you have to pay that fine? You've been dodging all the time. Are you still dizzy? Hello, since I come on home, well, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over, yeah? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over?
You are freaking amazing. Keep going if you want. Oh my gosh.
When the sun goes down